She will always find a way.
Looking back in Silent Dance then, because, that's something that's been said on the new Friends of Solstice Facebook page a lot. Like, people have been following the band for a long time are drawing this connection. So obviously, the people who did get the message despite the transmission errors, they are sensing that it is the same message and it's louder and brighter than ever. So that's great. So, the internal truth of your art has been making it through all these years, even if it didn't feel like it sometimes. So firstly, what went wrong with Silent Dance? And secondly, were you watching out specifically? Were you having flashbacks and going, oh, this could be a Silent Dance moment, avoid that?
No, Silent Dance was not in my mind at all. I mean, the thing is, I'm not one personally to revisit old work at all. And when we discussed talking about this, I did go back and listen to some of the previous albums. And
sorry about that. I know you didn't want to.
And I could probably have done without it, to be honest. But so no, it wasn't. That's the other thing about this album. I think probably the previous albums as well. But this album is certainly not looking back. I'm not interested in that at all.
What was wrong with Silent Dance then in the end? Why didn't it be what it needed to be?
Well, I think because we were a pretty good live band, and what we wanted was just a well-recorded representation of that.
Yeah,
that was what we went in wanting, and the limitations of 8-track and the LP format, 45 minutes, meant that things had to be cut down in terms of time, and compromises had to be made in order to work with 8 tracks. Progressive rock bands, the drum was like a 23-piece drum kit. It's absurd, but that's Martin Wright for you. So the 8 tracks weren't enough to record him, let alone the rest of them. So we had to kind of refer back to those techniques through the 60s and early 70s. You record the drums on 6 tracks and then you bounce them onto 2, the story. So that was part of the problem. And the other thing was that Nigel Mason-Jones, who did a fantastic job under those circumstances, had strong opinions himself, about the production. He was someone that we all actually, but particularly me and Mark, had massive respect for. I loved his music. Sentinel, Ship Ashore, they're incredible albums, great singer-songwriter. So we were really excited about him producing it. And so we went in knowing that, someone was going to take the helm and was going to sort of help us realize, as complete novices, because we'd had virtually no studio experience before, lead us through the process. I suppose what we expected was our vision rather than someone else's. So I'm not knocking Nigel for that. He did what he felt was right. And he was a man of convictions in that sense, as were we. And so that did lead to some issues. Unfortunately, with Silent Dance, Mark, Elton, and Nigel, they locked horns. Let's be truthful. They locked horns on a lot of issues. And I'm not saying that Nigel didn't bring some really good ideas to what we were doing. And part of the problem was, as you're alluding to, was that probably we did not embrace what Nigel was trying to bring to it. Whatever the reasons are, no one ended up really happy with that. And I don't want to put it down really, because there's a lot of people that, feel a strong connection to that album. So therefore it is valid.
Yeah.
End of story, really.
think it would talk you out of making another album? You know, if you actually realise that the studio environment is getting in the way of what you want to achieve, why go back?
So yeah, so the effect it had on me was, right, I'm going to get my own studio together.
Right.
I'm going to record, record the music the way I think it should sound. Now, which is what I did. So that was the solution to me, and that's what led to the next album, New Life. And of course, New Life is material that was written in that early 80s period, even though it was a 91, 92 album. Mark was on it. Different personnel apart from Mark Elton. But the music was from that earlier period, that creative, maelstrom that we were in. And it was material that we couldn't fit onto Silent Dance. So I had, two motivations. One was that there's a lot of good material there. We just had too much for an album. So I really wanted to make a record of that. And secondly, I wanted to take control myself of the process and how it was going to sound. And of course, that has great limitations because I couldn't record live drums. It was a little Atari computer synced up to 8-track again, but I just took a different approach to it. And at the time, at least, felt that it more accurately represented the way we sounded as a band and the way we wanted to sound on record.